Welcome to NHL Quick Hits. I'm David Crosby here with Steele Roden to preview the second round series between the Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche, who finished 1-2 in the overall standings this season. And Steele, they may very well be the best two teams in the league. So sorry, guys, you're going to be facing off in the second round. Tough luck for whoever loses this series. But I've voiced my excitement about the potential of this series all season long. And it's finally here. Both these teams have speed, size, and skill to burn, and I'm just praying that this one goes 7 games. Now, they split the season series with 4 wins apiece, but Colorado is the relatively heavy betting favorite in their first ever playoff meeting between these two teams, and that's likely due to the results of the first round. Colorado swept the St. Louis Blues with relative ease, and they've been resting for a week. Well, the Minnesota Wild took Vegas all the way to Game 7. Now, with that being said, maybe the Golden Knights' most important player in this series and potentially in this playoffs made a triumphant return for them in that final game. Max Pacioretty, who had missed the previous 12 games with an undisclosed injury, scored the game-winning and series-clinching goal in his return. He also led Vegas with 8 points against the Avs during the regular season and a team-leading 24 total goals. So, Steele, how much does Pacioretty's return improve Vegas's chances in this series?
His return improves their chances tremendously, and he's a vital piece to this organization and this lineup for the Golden Knights, and we saw that in Game 7 with that game winner with a great feed from Chandler Stevenson, might I add, which was right on the tape, right in the wheelhouse for Pacioretty as well. But yeah, he's the go-to guy besides Mark Stone on as a forward. So getting him back in the lineup and getting him back into the playoffs is a huge piece for the Vegas Golden Knights. And like I said, his chemistry with Mark Stone is just unbelievable. Like it just seems like they can find each other all the time when they're on the ice together. So he's a huge part of this team. He's been a huge part of their success over the last 4 years, and taking them to the deep into the playoffs, as well as finishing first or second in these divisions. So he's a huge piece for their lineup, and they're super happy to have him back.
It almost feels disrespectful of me not to start with Colorado's most dangerous forward, and that's Nathan MacKinnon, whose 6 goals still lead all playoff scorers, and he became the first player in franchise history with 9 points in a series of 4 or fewer games. If that doesn't impress you, per NHL.com's Mike Muriel, MacKinnon's average of 1.43 points per game across 44 playoff contests is the 3rd best pace in NHL history, behind only Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. Is there anything the Knights can throw at him to slow him down?
I really don't know how to slow him down besides, being physical with him. But even then, Nathan MacKinnon is a big, strong guy who throws his weight around. So I really don't know how Vegas is going to, decide or, plan make a plan to try and slow Nathan MacKinnon down. It just seems like he's just too good in all areas of the ice. And if you remember when Vegas and Colorado played at Lake Tahoe outside, and Alex Pietrangelo was mic'd up, and Nathan MacKinnon was coming flying down the right side of the wings, and he says, "Oh boy," and then Nathan MacKinnon just ripped it past Fleury. So I think, Vegas, obviously the defensemen, they have to stay confident. You can't be saying, "Oh boy," when Nathan MacKinnon comes flying down the right side, the right wing. So I think it's just about staying confident, being a little bit physical with him. But Nathan MacKinnon, he's strong, he's big, he's fast, he's got a wicked shot. So it just seems like he has all the pieces right now, and he's finding the back of the net for the Colorado Avalanche. So it's definitely going to be a tough series trying to, guard Nathan MacKinnon.
Well, it seems like a lot of teams around the league have exactly the same plan as you, because like you mentioned, MacKinnon's best weapon might be his speed, but the Avalanche as a group too might be the league's fastest team. Guys like Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, they're also fantastic skaters. Now, Colorado defenseman Ryan Graves told The Athletic, quote, "Teams have been trying to say all year how physical they're going to be with us. St. Louis did the same thing. We don't shy away from it. We're not worried about it. We know that our speed will overcome any physicality other teams may bring our way." Vegas, of course, is one of the league's most physical teams, and they held Colorado's top line to just 3 goals in their 8 games in the regular season. Do you think the Knights might be the one team that can negate the Avs speed advantage?
Yeah, I think they are the one team that, has the best chance in slowing this Colorado Avalanche team down. But again, I'm just not quite sure how it's going to work because Colorado has just been very dominant in all areas of the ice. Even though Vegas is a little bit bigger and a little bit more physical than them, Colorado is still a very physical team. Even though they're a lot younger team as well, those guys aren't afraid to throw their weight around, and especially led by their captain, Gabriel Landeskog, who gets down and dirty when things get tough in the game. So with a guy like Landeskog leading this Colorado Avalanche team and showing them how it should be done with the physicality, I think it's going to make some problems for the Vegas Golden Knights. But at the same time, this team has been made to be big, brutal, and bad every time they hit the ice. So Vegas, this is going to be a great series between Vegas and Colorado. Over the last couple of years, Vegas has acquired so many strong defensemen, and they're unbelievable up and down the depth chart. And, as well as having one of, if not the best two-way forward in Mark Stone, it's going to create some problems for Colorado for sure. But again, Colorado, they're going to stick to their game plan. They took down St. Louis with ease in that 4-0 sweep. So it's going to be hard to see Vegas try to slow down this very fast team.
Well, I mentioned Mark Stone in round one there as one of my favorite players, that defensive tenacity, that stellar two-way play. Of course, like you mentioned, Vegas paid Alex Pietrangelo all that money in the offseason to be that top pairing guy that could shut down the team's top players. I think the combination of those two, you're right, they could give Colorado some problems. And a couple more factors going Vegas's way. You mentioned the physicality from Colorado. One really physical force in Nazem Kadri still has 6 games left to serve on his suspension. That really cuts at their depth up the middle. And maybe the key factor in this series for me, Marc-Andre Fleury was the only goalie to shut out the Avs this season. And guess what? He did it twice. So he's probably been more successful against Colorado than any other goalie in the league this year. What are the biggest factors you're looking at in this series?
Yeah, well, to start off with Marc-Andre Fleury, I'm not quite sure if he'll, record another shutout against the Colorado Avalanche. I'm just not sure if that's possible against this team that just seems so dominant to start the playoff season. But 2 factors I'm looking for is one, Philip Grubauer. He was 4-0, obviously winning all 4 games for the Colorado Avalanche against the St. Louis Blues, a 175 goals against average, a 936 save percentage. I just want to see and hope that he can continue at this pace. And I think last year, obviously with him going down and as well as Pavel Francouz going down, really hurt the Avalanche, and they had to depend on Michael Hutchinson. So I want to see, and I really hope that Philip Grubauer can continue at this pace and continue, because I think Marc-Andre Fleury and Philip Grubauer, for me, they're my top 2 Vezina trophy candidates for this season. So I really hope that he continues on this pace. And then the second factor I have is, will the rest that the Avalanche have had over the last week be a benefit or a disadvantage to them going against the Vegas Golden Knights? Because obviously, like you said, the Minnesota Wild took Vegas to Game 7, and they played on Friday night while Colorado has been off for a week already. So I'm hoping that this rest doesn't affect them too much. Maybe this rest does help them, and they can actually get some rest and games and health to get their health back. Just be really in tip-top shape for this series against the Vegas Golden Knights, because I feel like it could go all the way to the distance.
Let's finish this one off with a prediction. How do you see this series playing out?
Well, I practically just said it. I feel like it's Colorado in 7 games. Even though they just swept the St. Louis Blues with ease, Vegas is probably the biggest matchup and the toughest opponent they can have in a series. So I think if they can get past Vegas, which I believe they will in 7 games, I believe they'll win the Stanley Cup this year.
I'm taking Colorado in 7 as well. I think there are a few factors, including some of the ones we mentioned, that give the Knights some advantages in this series. But to me, the Avalanche are the most complete team in the league, and they're just going to be a little too much for Vegas to handle in the end. That's going to do it for today's preview. On behalf of Steele Road, I'm David Crosby, and thanks for tuning in to NHL Quick Hits.